let's get to the Raiders. We've talked long enough. I'll lay out these 4 scenarios on the path that the Raiders can take. They can trade up. They can trade down. They can make the 7 pick and stay still right there, but also maybe trade some of those other 11 picks that they'll have to get back into the first round and get a quality offensive lineman, cornerback, linebacker, D-line, whatever. Or they make that 7 pick, and that's that. I'm going to let you take it in any direction you think that that will be most likely that the Raiders take.
Most likely scenario that the Raiders take, they stay at 7 and they draft the top cornerback on the board. I hope is Devin Witherspoon. I said on Twitter earlier today, Thursday, that I'm going to carry an actual spoon with me on Thursday in my back pocket for good Raider draft buys because the Raiders need to break the streak of drafting underwhelming cornerbacks. Garyon Conley, Damon Arnett, Trayvon Mullen. They need to break the streak of whiffing on early round cornerbacks. And I think Devin Witherspoon could be the guy to do that. Now, if he's not available, because I think the Lions could actually take him at 6 after they traded Jeff Okudah to the Falcons, then you go with Christian Gonzalez. But if those two guys, or for some reason, neither of those two guys are on the board, then it gets interesting because then you would think that Tyree Wilson might be available. Jalen Carter, who's, got some off the field issues this offseason, might be available. Anthony Richardson might be available. I would be tempted to take Anthony Richardson. I know Raider fans don't want to hear about a quarterback because they're saying defense. But what I'm telling you is that I'm going to make a case for Anthony Richardson at 7 right now, simply because I think he would be worth the pick. If you're going to take a swing and you're not going to go defense and you don't like the second cornerback on the board, I would go with Anthony Richardson because I always say this, that the quarterback position is the most important position. If you can find your guy for the next 10 to 15 years, you get that guy because let me tell you, J.J. Watt, one of the best defensive players in the league. How many playoff games did he win before Deshaun Watson got there? Aaron Donald was on 0. Aaron Donald was on a good Rams team. The Rams didn't win the Super Bowl until they got rid of Jared Goff and got Matthew Stafford and he had that magical year. So the quarterback position is so important. Even if you hit on a top defensive guy, doesn't change your win-loss record at the end of the year. You need that quarterback. And Jimmy Garoppolo, to me, isn't it. You get Anthony Richardson. He started the year, 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in his first, I believe, 8 games. Last 4 games, 10 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. So the progression was there for him. I know a lot of people want to look at his stats, say he completed less than 54% of his passes. The progression is there. He's trending upward. If you can get Anthony Richardson and you don't like any of the defensive players on the board, get your quarterback.
Well, I mean, and you also brought that up that, he's going to sit and be behind Jimmy G. Right. Jimmy G very rarely plays a full season, which means he'll get a little bit of experience this year. Mm-hmm. And also, if you believe what a lot of people say, that McDaniels' offense is extremely complicated, it'll be great that he'll be in a position to sit behind Jimmy G, someone who knows that offense and can kind of explain it outside of McDaniels himself. So I'm with this 100%. I'm going to let you cook. And this is the mandated question I have to ask, and I believe I now know the answer. With the Raiders, of course, being at 7, and you're hearing rumors, which honestly I don't believe, but it might happen. Bryce Young's probably going to go 1 or C.J. Stroud. Is Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud the only 2 quarterbacks in this draft class that are worth trading up for if they want to move into that number 3 slot and pick up a quarterback in the first round and just get it over with?
I've said this for months now. At the beginning of this draft evaluation process, I said, if C.J. Stroud's available, you trade up for him. He's my quarterback 1 in this class. I think Bryce Young is quarterback 2. I do have concerns about the size. I look at Kyler Murray. He's been banged up at the end of the season, and I worry about that. I know Bryce Young hasn't been hurt on a collegiate level, but it's different when you're banging against grown men in the NFL. So I would be comfortable with getting C.J. Stroud at 2 or at 3. So say the Texans aren't in love with C.J. Stroud and if Bryce Young goes 1, I would make a call at 2 for C.J. Stroud. Forget the rumors that we're hearing about his Manning camp absenteeism or whatever you want to say. But I think, yes, to answer your question, Bryce Young is also worth trading up for. Even though I have concerns about the size, I think he's the prototypical modern-day quarterback. And what I mean by that, the mobility that C.J. Stroud doesn't have, you get that with Bryce Young. So even with his size, he's able to move the pocket so fluidly that you don't worry about him getting hit. If he was a statue back there at that size, I'm all out. But because he moves so well, even though I have the concerns, I think he could be a prototypical starter in this league. And again, in today's NFL world, you need a quarterback that can move. Not to say CJ Stroud can't, because he showed he can do that against Georgia in the college football playoffs, but Bryce Young has him in that area. He's much better at movement in and out of the pocket. So those two guys, QB1, QB2, only two guys, quarterbacks worth trading up for. I'm not trading up for Anthony Richardson, but if he's there at 7, I definitely consider it.
Okay, and then let me do the flip side. Do you think it'll be worth it for the Raiders to make a late round, day 2, day 3 pick of quarterback in these later rounds in the draft?
Clayton Tune has been my guy. I think he's going to be available in the 5th round. I think he's the type of player that, again, can move. So he has the athleticism. Doesn't have the strongest arm. I think he has a Josh Allen arm. He doesn't have a Josh Allen arm, but he'll throw like it. He'll test defensive backs downfield. If you can rein him in on that and say, look, Clayton, you don't have a strong arm. Stick to the script. Stick to the midfield, short passing throws. I think he's fine as a spot starter because, as we said, Jimmy Garoppolo is probably not going to play a full season. So you're going to have to stick a guy in there for maybe 3-4 games, maybe 5-6 games to steady the ship with Devontae Adams, with Jacoby Myers, with Hunter Renfrow if they don't trade him, Austin Hooper coming in. So I think Clayton Tune could be that guy to be a spot starter because he has a lot of playing experience. And again, that with that athleticism and his accuracy, I think he's fine there. Aiden O'Connell out of Purdue is another guy playing in a pro-style offense. Doesn't have the athleticism as Clayton Tune has, but I think he could be another spot starter in the 4th, 5th round, again, because he has that experience in a pro-style offense, and coaches love that.
All right, we'll go speed round on this because we're over time, but rightfully so. We're getting into it. Yeah. It's been a minute, too. We haven't talked in a while. Over here, me at WrestleMania and all this nonsense. So, obviously, Raiders are in the top 10 of the draft, which means this is a team that needs help in multiple areas within this roster. Offensive line, secondary, linebackers, defensive line. So, for you, if I could kind of have you rank in terms of need, what is most important to you? I'm leaning secondary because you're in a division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. But for you, what is it? What is that that need, position need, or the position that needs help the most, I should say?
I have to go with linebacker because I don't think the Raiders have a single linebacker on the roster that's a starter. They signed Robert Spillane in free agency, but Robert Spillane to me is not a lock starter. Mm-hmm. Divine Diablo didn't show much this past season. I know he had some bright moments as a rookie, but who is your starting linebacker? Remember, you didn't re-sign Denzel Perryman. He's in Houston right now. So the Raiders are, to me, they don't have one player on that roster where you could say that guy.
Can I push back really quick?
Go ahead.
Let me push back really quick. What if I'm like, this is just like basketball, where the center position really doesn't matter anymore because it's just the sport is changing, where you could put a safety out there, get more safeties on the field. I need more athletes where those safety guys are typically, like an Isaiah Simmons type player, right? Mm-hmm. That's flexible like that. What's the pushback on that?
My pushback on that is I get your point because the game is getting faster. You're putting more athletes on the field. You're seeing more safeties playing in the box, less linebackers stumping. But I think if you're revamping a defense, I think the linebacker position is super important because that guy is the quarterback of your defense. A lot of times he's making the calls. He has the green dot. He's getting guys lined up. He has to make plays. Look at how the Ravens defense changed once they got Roquan Smith. Ravens defense wasn't that good before he arrived. All of a sudden, you stick Roquan Smith in there, it changes. Ravens defense got a lot stronger the day he got on that field. So I think if you're trying to overhaul a defense, that linebacker position is key. And if you don't have any starters there, and if you're going to have to rely on Darren Butler and Luke Masterson, no disrespect to those guys, but they're both undrafted free agents from last year. And Spillane, who can't cover, Divine Diablo, who was missing last year. Who are you depending on in the middle of that defense? You're in a division with Travis Kelce right now. So you have to shore up the middle of the field. And I think the Raiders have to address the linebacker position. Now, if you're talking about value, yes, I agree. Cornerback, you have to address it. Value-wise, cornerback, top of the list. But as far as the position that needs the most help, it's got to be linebacker. You get Jack Campbell. You shore up that position. Get a pure middle linebacker to at least give you a start. Give you somebody who's going to be a starter at that spot.
Tight end is another one that I didn't mention that, of course, because of some things that have happened in this offseason, is going to be needed. Is there anyone or a couple of guys that you're looking at I'm assuming, I don't know why, I'm just penciling it in third round. I feel like they're going tight end. How do you feel, and who are you looking out for?
Josh McDaniels' offense, very tight end friendly offense, as we know. In their last year together, Josh McDaniels and Dave Zielger in New England, they signed 2 tight ends in free agency, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. Now, Jonnu Smith is no longer there, but they spend on tight end. So I think even though they signed Austin Hooper, they're going to, like you, I believe, 3rd, 4th round, they'll go with a tight end. Tucker Kraft is my guy out of South Dakota State. Sam Laporta, another guy out of Iowa. Big part of that Iowa offense. That's tight end university right now. TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant, George Kittle. Raider fans remember Brandon Myers, who I believe who was a 6th round pick in 2009. These are Iowa guys, tight ends that came out of Iowa, who had some flashes in the NFL or became Pro Bowlers or functional starters. So I think Sam Laporta, Tucker Kraft, 2 guys I'm looking at.
You know what's cool about working for Audacy and being a part of the Bet Las Vegas Mo is that I'm contractually not obligated to say some of the things that I need to say. I totally forgot that the Raiders signed Austin Hooper this offseason because Austin Hooper is ass. I can't wait for him to catch a wide open pass, and then he immediately falls down for a gain of 6. 2nd and 4, baby. Give it to Josh Jacobs. We'll get the first down, and that's how we'll be rolling this season. So get ready for Austin Hooper to just randomly catch the ball and fall down. My man's kind of ass. Best of luck this season, though, Austin. Before we get you out of here, I want to know, you've been doing this a long time. We know where we can find you at. I want to know, what is your worst prediction when it comes to a player? And then on the flip side, we'll give you some roses too. Who's the guy that you said was going to be good that turned out to be good? So I need your worst and best predictions when it comes to drafts.
Wow, worst predictions. I would say recently I wasn't high on Jalen Hurts. I didn't think Jalen Hurts was going to be a starter in the NFL. I was one of the guys who criticized Jalen Hurts and said, I don't know, because got benched at Alabama. His passing mechanics weren't great coming into the league. He went in the 2nd round for a reason, obviously, but he worked his ass off. He worked hard, and now look at him now. He had a great performance in the Super Bowl, got a fresh new contract, highest paid player in the league right now. He's doing his thing, so he proved me wrong on that one.
Please.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Did that come out on mute? I'm so sorry, guys. Dangerous game, recording with your 4-year-old son in the house. Keep going. My bad.
No, you're good. As far as a player that I hit on, I would say that I wasn't as critical of Josh Allen as a lot of people. And I'll say, and I compared it to Anthony Richardson. Josh Allen was another guy that came out under, I believe, 57% completion percentage, but he had the physical tools. And what I always say about quarterbacks in today's league is you bet on the tools. If a quarterback has the arm, has the ability to be a dynamic playmaker with his legs, you take a chance on that, because you never know if he clicks, if he works hard at it. He already has the physical tools. He's already physically better than other players at the position. If he gets the basic stuff down pat, that guy could be special. And look at what the Bills are doing with him. They're a playoff team. They're a Super Bowl contender.